Hey everybody, welcome to a special edition of City Make Spence for the Majors Detroit. This is Monday, May 12th, 2025, and we have here a special preview episode for Detroit City FC's W League women's side. We are 5 days away from the start of an outdoor season. I swear we were just in Detroit City Fieldhouse on Saturdays for indoor, but you know, time moves fast when you're having fun, I suppose. Garret Comat's here, joined as always by Sean Spence and Adam Hernandez. Special guest today. We got two of them here. The brain trust of the Detroit City FC's women's side, both the indoor and the outdoor. It is fitting that we have Dave Dwaihy on here when we're also noticed of 13-year anniversary of the Detroit City FC's first ever men's match, and somebody that we've all seen do some, you know, fantastic things, especially on an indoor pitch at the Fieldhouse. And Dani Evans, who has led, in addition to this Detroit City FC indoor side these last couple of years, including national runner-up in this past indoor season, and the left brain, right brain combo of this W League side that made it to the national semifinal last year. David, Dani, thank you so much for joining us. How are the both of you this evening?
Thanks for having us. Go ahead and kick it off.
Great. We're excited to be here. We're excited for the upcoming season. We're ending on a good foot and hopefully, going on the outdoor with that same kind of stride towards it. So,
absolutely. What about you, David?
Doing great, and I had totally forgotten. I mean, May 12th is definitely a special date, and I think, fun fact, Dani's husband John played in that first game, right?
I think he dressed. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
He and I both got to, I think, take the field in that inaugural tie against Cleveland.
Yeah.
13 years.
Do you both remember who your shirt sponsor was? Because weren't there individual shirt sponsors?
I definitely remember John's. Dani, do you remember it?
I don't remember it.
John was funny to me because it was Simply Suzanne, which was like this very lesser known granola company. It was like a mom and pop, and we got a little bit of a sample of it. And I'm a big granola fan, so I was all about it. But I think all of a sudden I'm second guessing it. Maybe he was
sounds like a Suzanne Summers like sitcom from like the late 70s.
Yeah,
Suzanne
like,
has she's a nice on her own.
Yeah. It was either that or Whole Foods. He might have been Whole Foods now.
Well, you know what? I think he was Whole Foods. There's a picture of us, and I don't know if it's from that game.
Now
and it's one of my favorite pictures of like John and I. The like background is pretty and everything. And so he is, and I think it is Whole Foods. Yeah.
Okay. I just gave an inadvertent plug for Simply Suzanne. I hope it's still a granola company. It's like flourishing. And then I was LaRouche Supporters, which was a lesser known early days supporter club, and it consisted of like all of Sean and Alex's friends. And they just like sponsored a jersey, and I wore it, and it was a short-lived supporters club, but a powerful one, a meaningful one.
Oh man.
Like, listen, we need one more sponsor, guys. Like, just kick in for the shirt. We'll call you something.
Yeah, we'll front it. We'll pay
like seriously, a couple $100. Like, you got that right?
Yeah,
seriously, you got that right?
We can make this happen.
Right.
Totally.
Yeah. Okay.
That's too funny. I think for John's it was Whole Foods. I think we have the jersey actually.
Yeah, I bet he held on to it. That's a relic. I mean, that's probably worth something now.
That's too funny.
So
go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, so Sean, I think I was going to hand it over to you because we Ann Arbor away this coming Saturday. How we ended the regular season of 2024 is now 2025 beginning. So Sean, I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah. So starting with Ann Arbor, the way I hadn't thought of this, but I just did now. It kind of feels like there's a theme of continuation from 2024 kind of happening here with this team. Would you like would either of you like to speak on that before I get more specific?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's all sorts of interesting parallels and continuity. I mean, just thinking about for the second time, we're sort of being springboarded by the successful Arena League campaign. A ton of retention in the roster. You'll find I think they're going to start making announcements for new players, but the bulk of this year's rosters from last year. It's actually for 2 years in a row. My first two, or me and Danny's 2 seasons coaching the women ended away at Ann Arbor, so it's kind of funny that we won't be doing that this season, but rather starting there. But it's been good to us. It's been a good venue for us the last 2 years, and I really hope flipping the order of that game doesn't mess us up, because it's been a place where we've had some success, and last year was especially special because we kind of clinched things and wrapped up an undefeated regular season there. So it was really good vibes, and I hope we can pick up where we left off.
The one thing I like about Ann Arbor too is that I feel like the last 2 times we played there, and this is probably this is what I hope like kind of we do this year. I feel like both years it was like we finally got our groove, and I felt like we really both games have been like, okay, this is us. This is who we are. And so it's always kind of been at the end of the season. Not that we didn't know who we were during the season, but I felt like that really was a turning point for a lot of things. Our first year, I think it was our turning point where everybody was like, wow, this team's special. Can't wait to come back next year. And then this last year was like, wow, we're really special. Let's continue this journey and keep going. And so hopefully because they're our first game, maybe hopefully that's kind of our mentality going into it.
Yeah. I remember in 2023, that was it all clicked. Unfortunately, it was the last game of the season, but it did so much for us for 2024, because I think everyone left happy, and the team had so much promise, and we all kind of looked around and said hey, we got a good thing going here, even though it had been a little bit of an up and down season. It really ended on such a high note that it launched us nicely into 2024.
And a lot of the girls too that were in that game were so pivotal going into the next season. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of players that I think not that we didn't use them, but we used them a lot during that time frame. So that was
awesome. Okay, so I noticed a couple of names that I didn't see on the roster. Obviously, Gabby is everybody knows the reason Gabby's not around. But I didn't know Addie. I didn't see her on the list.
She should have been. That was
okay. Was it just
she is on it. It's her first name is Kayla Addison. She was
I know, but it's listed in last name alphabetical order, and she's just not on there. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking through it come on, Addison. Okay, well maybe someone screwed it up and it's out of order. No, yeah. So I was like, well, okay, well I'll just ask her.
That's a mistake. She's on the team.
She's on there.
She's very much part of the team.
I was going to say
let's go.
Yeah. Okay, so and I mean, of course, you want to continue with the kind of vibe you had since you went to the national semifinals, and really, on a given night, it wasn't like you were outclassed. You didn't run into the kind of the Chihuahua situation where it's oh my God, these people are levitating and so it wasn't like that. It was we play again, maybe we win. We're in the mix for that. The real discontinuity this year is the kind of appearance like a boss from a Dark Souls game of another hoping to be youth super club formation, where Flint did it, made a shot at winning a national title, lost in the playoffs, is we're out. And now it's the Union, Macomb, who, have put together a roster that, is, kind of astonishing at some levels. How does it, first of all, obviously they've got a couple of our players from last year. But does does the presence of that club like lie over your preparations for this season? Is that something that you're kind of like, all right, this is the thing we're preparing for?
You want to take this one, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, like obviously it's on the back of our mind, but I don't think it's necessarily like a forefront. Just like when Flint City was, around and they were such a powerhouse. I honestly, like, even the week before, like, kind of forgot we were playing Flint City, and like our preparation is not just for this league; it's also for the tournament after the league. And so I think a lot of the things that we're doing aren't directly associated with Union Macomb. They're, obviously have a very strong roster, and we're excited to play them. But I think at the end of the day, like, every preparation is for the season as a whole, not necessarily just against, supposedly a very, very high level team that will probably be one of the tougher competitions. But I think, we go into each week, like right now, our focus is Ann Arbor. So, and when we get to them, honestly, like, we have to play our own game and be in our own heads and worry about ourselves. And we can't really worry too much about what their roster looks like or what their formation is going to look like. We have to be prepared on our end. So.
Yeah, I think our success against Flint last year was in large part because we didn't overthink those games. We kind of knew what to expect from them from the year before in terms of how they play. But I remember before the first game, kind of borrowing a line from Sir Alex Ferguson. I remember he used to tell like some of his great Manchester United teams, like, look around, do you like what you see in the locker room? And we were able to say that game one last year. And I think, we on paper, maybe they were overall had a bit of an advantage, but as Dani said right away, like I think we kind of had them in like the cohesion category. Like I think we had a true team from day one last year, and that was really our focus in preseason, and it's been our focus in this preseason. And I hope that will once again prevail. That we can maybe, they're going to have an amazing collection of players, and they will probably play very well together as well. But I think that's one area where maybe we can find a little bit of an edge, like just in terms of togetherness and trust. And we have so many players coming back who found that very quickly last year. So we really relish the challenge. I mean, I'm kind of, even though, yeah, it might be nice to not have a team that's that strong on paper to worry about, I think it's part of why this league is so attractive to the players on our roster. They know they're going to get to play against top level competition, and when you look at the players that have been announced for Union Macomb, I think it's exciting for our players to stack up against that and see how we can fare.
With a lot of your players coming back and the new faces that are going to be joining, I think you talked about a game plan and not overthinking and overanalyzing too much. You found what worked for you on match day one, and you kind of, other than some pieces coming in and out with rotation, midweek games and everything, you kind of stuck to the system. Do you feel like for those, obviously we don't want you don't have to divulge everything too much with being so close into game day.
We're going to say it all. We're giving it all up tonight.
Oh, yeah. With this squad that you have this year, do you feel like it's what we've seen last year, system-wise, plan-wise, is something we should expect? Or is this what we're going to see from this side is something new that's tailor-made to this side?
I'll start. Dani will speak specifically about the tactics of it, but I think our plan is to kind of stick with what worked so well last year. It really, that system, the 4-4-2 with the box in the middle, it really, I don't know, just it worked well for so many of our players. Our midfield players seem to really enjoy having the numerical advantage. I felt like our forwards and our attacking midfielders were all super active and fit and willing to do a little bit of extra defensive work to make the system functional. And I think we have that same quality in our, we have similar players this year in that way. We're open to change, and I think, there might be some times where we get a little bit creative. I do think maybe we have a little bit more, we got a little something out wide this year and a couple players that have joined. And so there may be some games where we want to try and be a little bit, experiment a bit like with how the men play, where you kind of send some wing backs forward. But I think, so much of like success in a summer league is to like find a system that works for you and don't don't deviate too much from it. Because I think when you start to do different systems game to game, it just, I think there's a point where you overcomplicate things to your own detriment. And so, as I've often agreed with Dani, it's like if it's working and they're confident in it, I feel like the best systems are the ones that the players are comfortable in. And you just say like, hey, here's how we're going to play, and we're going to play to our strengths. And, if the other team can figure it out and beat it, then, kudos to them. But we don't want to hurt ourselves by changing too much.
I think that a lot of times the modern sense of what you're doing tactically is really shaped by like Football Manager and the football at the very highest level, where the players are so good and so flexible that you really have to kind of constantly dick around with where you're trapping and how you're funneling things and every little detail to get any kind of advantage or any kind of toehold in the game. But those are players who literally devote their whole lives to making that happen. You're talking about a summer league, like, you're kind of like everything you do over rolling the ball out and like letting them get used to each other is like a value add, it seems to me. And I think that, this is one of those areas I'm just going to kind of opine now because, hey, this is one of those areas where I think that maybe y'all and your staff don't get maybe quite the credit that is due them, because you are recruiting in a very competitive environment now, with women who think of themselves as potential future pros and think of this time as essential developmental work. And I'm like, on our team, you're talking about like Lily, Ava, these are women who are on the path to being professional players, right? And if it goes well, like they can't just dick off 6 weeks. Like, they're like, I got 4 years to get where I need to go. I don't got 6 weeks to give you to like play around. So the fact that these people are coming back shows me that you are doing things that are at least a little bit different competitively, and you're not losing that spark of like the fire, So, this is my long-winded way of saying, like, I think you got to pat yourself on the back, if you, at least in private, because what a remarkable talent pool again this year. Let's kind of get into that. So the defense, almost intact. What's her name is not playing summer ball, right? The center back.
Orange Shampoo.
No, Avi Trevor's not doing it either. So Avery, Kate Childers, Drew Martin. We got a lot of women coming back. I don't know anything about Melinda Hathaway, but I know that she plays at Notre Dame, which means that she was good. Tell me a little bit about her.
I mean, you mentioned earlier, like, I think you're giving I'll try and be humble here. I don't know that we deserve a ton of credit for all the recruitment, because I think a lot of it comes our way. And I think there's a reason for it. I think word of mouth is a powerful thing. And, I think players that are currently in have had a really positive experience, between the players around them and the coaching staff. I think like we've got a really good dynamic, and that's all great. But I do think so many players are kind of initially approaching us, and it's just a matter of saying yes and welcoming them in.
So you're saying it's not so much recruitment as just like answering the phone?
Yeah, and then I think we kind of try and do like a little bit of a litmus test, before we say yes. Like so much of it, and this was something I kind of picked up from Trevor. Like I think. You recruit the person before you recruit the player, and you want to make sure that whoever comes in is going to, fit the locker room and be a generous, gracious contributor to the off the field stuff. Because I think you can really quickly sour things if you bring in someone, and like, unfortunately, some of those like really like marquee blue chip recruits, they occasionally not. This is certainly not always the case, but sometimes I think you risk bringing someone in who feels like they're doing you a favor, and then it kind of, you know, creates a little bit of tension and resentment and all that bad stuff. Whereas if you're bringing people in that are like excited to come in and they've heard good things and they know they have a couple friends on the team, I think you have a better assurance of kind of continuing the good vibes off the field. So much of it is just having a quick conversation, or asking around. You know, we have the benefit now, like we have players at a lot of schools, and so when Abby Worthman comes our way from Western, we have Drew Martin and Emily Paget who are able to say like, Abby's the nicest player on our team, and so then we're just like, okay, this is a no-brainer. And you really get like a little bit of a vetting process through your own players, and then some just casual conversations that we've had. But yeah, I think that's the most important thing.
So
I think a big thing too
Yeah,
with the girls are a lot of them are very grateful to be like a part of the program. And when you continue recruiting or getting players that are very grateful, it like makes it so much like it's just like the atmosphere is just so much cleaner and just so much more enjoyable. And I've been a part of many women's like semi-professional teams, and I'm going to be honest, like this last year's group was probably one of the best when it came to being so humble and being like just so, you know, friendly to each other. And honestly, David is just the nicest person in the world. And so when he walks into that kind of like atmosphere, everybody else kind of just feels it. So it was, it was really like, I can't explain it because it's just a summer league team, right? But it's not like these girls really truly like each other on off the field. So, and they're just grateful. They're not, they don't feel like they don't feel like they automatically get something from it. They're doing what they know how to do, but they're doing it really humbly. So.
And you kind of mentioned already with kind of getting the vetting process from people that have played together, say like the situation you provided at Western, just having those personalities be able to take the control and have, you know, the trust in the players. How easy is it then for you to, as far as just being able to coach the side? Because it just seems like a team that wants to play for each other. And also like, you know, it seems like there's the difficulties are little, like there's a common sense of camaraderie and, you know, a level of from your approach as coaches to their approach as players and the plan being carried out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we have some really talented players. So in terms of like what they need tactically and otherwise, the little that they need, Dani is so good at. I mean, it's just like she sees the X's and O's. It's a game that she loves to play, and she gives such good, not just accurate, but like meaningful feedback to players. Like, and they know from Dani that it's like coming from a player, and there's so much respect that she just immediately gains. And so, you know, for example, if Sophia Romine shoots over to the sideline and says like, hey, you know, I'm not getting the ball in the areas where I want it. Like Dani is able to like really quickly point a few things out, just some like food for thought and some suggestions, and it just like clicks, and then like that it's real little bite-sized pieces of tactical coaching that I think we're asked to do, and that's like, I mean, in my opinion, Dani is brilliant in those situations.
Thank you.
And then so much of it beyond that, I think everything else we focus on is just like the culture and the soft skills, like, you know, just putting players together who might mesh well, creating a fun environment and training, a competitive and fun combination, letting them play, like letting them solve problems on their own and training, and giving them the freedom to do that in the game. Like I think we've tried to strike that balance where we're not doing a ton of coaching. Maybe just a couple thoughts before, you know, I think you can quickly go too far and like overcoach and have like too much of a system and too much of a like, here's how we want to play, here's how we want to score. Like these players are really good. I think you know, for the most part, like free them to be good.
Yeah. I think too, a big thing is like, not only is like this a summer team, but like we want them to be really successful, not only here, but like in college or going professionally. And if we start like honing in on something that's so very specific to just our team, they can't really use that moving forward. So I think a lot of it is we try and give them that freedom, not only just because we want to see them be really successful like together and individually. We also want them to use what they're learning from us at the like in college or using it again. Like if they're trying out professionally, we want them to be using these skills not just here but elsewhere as well.
The one of the most notable things to me, like the way you can tell we're getting higher level players, to me, I mean, there's, obviously they can do fancy things sometimes, but to like, you could really see the women working the problems out, the problems of the match, working them out on the pitch, and kind of altering their approach, not doing the sort of kid-like thing where you just kind of like, well, this usually works. I mean, I'm just going to keep doing this. And we're talking about like even players like Lily Jekyll, who's played with us since she was 14, like never, despite being the quickest kid she's, in her class her whole life, never really relied on that. And I really felt like as you gave them more freedom last year, they really responded to it by playing like kind of intelligent and sumptuous football. And like, I just, so you're doing something to get to give them the ideas, even if you're not like, saying this is how this system works. And I think it's really beautiful that you can pull it together in like, 3 weeks of like, 2 or 3 packages a week. Like it's crazy.
Thanks. I think a lot of credit is due with the systems that they've been brought up in. I look at like the contingent of nationals players that we had between Lily and Aubrey and Ava Lanstra, and last year Tyra and Kira Billis. I mean, we had a really nice little cohort there, and I mean they're all so intelligent already, and so much of that comes down to the youth coaches they've had and the environment that they've grown up in. We're the beneficiaries of a pretty impressive local soccer scene. On the women's side especially, I just feel like Hawks, Nationals, Jags, there's just like quality coaching, quality players, really competitive environments are producing these gems, and so we're just kind of we're at that later stage for them where I think so much of our job is to just kind of like roll the balls out and keep it a little bit structured, but ultimately let them tap into what they've already done so well to develop.
Danny, I got a question for you because I'm looking at, I see there with one of the announcements that was tonight and the original roster list, 2 newer names to the W League side from indoor this year.
Mm-hmm.
Zoe and Claire Chirlino.
Yeah.
Zoe Greenhow, who I thought was really shown at times. And then Claire Chirlino, whose energy is so rampant in the indoor game, being able to basically go, board to board, and the physicality and the edge. With her, with Claire, do you see her kind of filling in that kind of like similar to what we've seen in indoor, like as like that fullback, wingback type variety? Or is this maybe in the outdoor game we might see a little bit of versatility with her, and then kind of like with like how Zoe's what we've seen in the indoor, how that transitions to her outdoor game as well?
With Claire, so Claire has obviously been on the indoor team for 2 years now, and like you said, like her aggressiveness, her energy, her speed is unlike anybody I've ever coached. Really, to be honest, I think she's probably one of the fastest people I've ever seen, and it just looks like natural for her too. It doesn't even look like she's putting a lot of effort into it when she like makes these runs. She's super versatile though. In college she played as a center back. In the indoor team she plays into an outside back position, but she's also really strong going forward. So we could see her up top or on that wide flank. It just kind of depends on games and situations, but she's just so versatile. We could literally probably put her pretty much anywhere, and she'll make some type of energy. She'll bring something to the table. And then with Zoe, so the Zoe, came in about halfway through the indoor season, or a little bit into the indoor season, and was brought over by a former coach that I used to coach with, or a coach I used to coach with, and he just kind of sung her praises. And it took her, a couple weeks to get herself kind of into that indoor arena style game, but as time went on, you just saw her foot skills. Her first touch is is fantastic. And then her ability to take small touches so quickly is what makes her really, really deadly, especially in front of a net. So, I asked her where she played, in high school and college, and she always played like an attacking center mid, an 8 or a 10. And I'm like, you're a 6. So, which is a defensive center midfielder. And I could see her, filling that role, but then also when we need her as an attacking player, having her kind of step up and playing that attacking center midfield role.
Dani takes all the players she likes and converts them to 6s.
I do. I really do. I like every time I see somebody that's just, can control a ball so well and then has that vision on the field, I'm always like, I think you're a 6. And they're like, what? I've never played that. I'm like, well, we're going to try it and see what happens.
And we play with 2 of them, so it's like there's no room there,
There's lots of room, yeah.
Yeah, always room for a 6.
Okay, so, there's that game, there's that whole like, trope or meme that like guys can be happy just naming some dudes, right?
Or some dudes see this and they'll be like, hell yeah.
So I'm proposing that we just name some women and you discuss them as players. So Avery Peters.
Love Avery.
Love her.
She's coming off a little bit of a knee injury, so I don't know that we'll get her right away. She's transferring to Western, and as good as she is in the back, I think they're looking to have her play in a more advanced role. And we saw a glimpse of her there. Well, she played there a decent amount in 2023. Yeah. And then last year, she started next to Katie Murphy in the first game and never left that position until the last game. When she came back from out of town for the Colorado game, we played her as a 10 and she scored her goal and
banner of a goal
there. I would say we played in a Christmas tournament this year and we played her in a more advanced midfield position. I thought she was really good. Like, I'm a believer in terms of like bringing her out, but her coach at Western, who sends us so many great players, he basically said, like, do what's best for the team. If you need her in the back, she'll play in the back. And so we have his blessing to kind of use her at center back, even though she won't likely be playing there at Western. So
in 23, when she was playing as a defensive midfielder, was that you, Dani? Or were you like, I like her defensive midfield?
I think that was you. That was you, right, Dani?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because she played more of a defensive center midfield role, I think, right, in 23?
Yeah.
She like so clean. Yeah. Like I love.
Well, we played her out wide. Remember her first game, and we were like, she can't play there. We got to put her somewhere else.
Yeah.
And that's when we like kind of started moving her in different places. She has like a crazy amount of energy, and I have never I have, but she loves to score. Like when she's in the center back, she's like, "Can I go up on every corner?"
Caged animal.
She just scored that wild goal at Flynn in 23 too. It was like 35 yards or whatever, I feel like.
Yeah, she just wants all she wants to do is score goals. It's just like so funny because she played center back for so long, but she just has this energy about her, and everybody, like when you talk to her, every person just like you have to start smiling because she's just like such a bubbly, nice person in general, and you can see it on the field. She has that same energy on the field.
Yeah.
So
I think a lot of our success in the locker room last year was the direct result of her being back and her contagious energy just taking effect on the team. I mean, 2023, I mentioned earlier, was a little bit up and down. We had some tough results. We had a little bit of, that we had to work through some things. And personnel-wise, I think we had to have some people leave to make room for a little bit more positivity. And she was such an instrumental part of just like growing that really positive culture. Like Dani said, she makes everyone smile. She's a happy person. She's got great energy around her.
So I'm like the other players that are carrying over from the indoor team. So I'm thinking like Eliza, Amanda Britton, Fatima Nasser, Maya Romeo, of course Addie. I guess Addie is coming. I don't have her on the list. But Hannah Crum. She's also not on the list, but like one of my favorites, like What a Junkyard Dog. Like awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen her score the same goal in indoor and outdoor. Same goal, same shot, like dragging on there. I think it was Michiana at home.
Yeah, far post.
Far post drag. And I'm like, I saw her do that against Waza like 8 times.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you think that being able to carry like a successful team, kind of a pre-knit group together, just carry them forward into the season, is that, because like a lot of these women aren't going to get a ton of time, right? They're they're the second 11, so they're who you're practicing against, and when they go at it hard and have a lot of integrity, that raises the whole level. Is that part of the secret sauce, you think?
I think a big thing with the indoor to then transitioning to outdoor is like the indoor group again, like when Zoe comes in this year and like, we had other players that joined us, Allison and Allie Teffin was like her first year playing. No matter what, when these girls come in, it's like they all kind of like become this big group and they all like really, really enjoy being around each other. And again, we have like this great, like, relationship amongst all the girls. And then that carries outdoor. But the good thing about it is they also know like their place and where they're going to fit into the puzzle piece with the outdoor. And obviously everybody strives to play. Everybody wants to play 90 minutes, right? But they also understand that this is bigger than themselves. And so a lot of the times they may not even see the field. They may not even be dressing at any point, but they're there. They come to trainings and they're there because they love the atmosphere at training. They love the atmosphere with the girls. And obviously everybody wants, like I said, everybody wants to play. They get disappointed in times, but I think overall, again, they know that this team is so much bigger than themselves and that they're adding value just by being there, being positive and being like competitive in those environments. And then with that, like, that's where we see loyalty. That's where we see, okay, we have this game, we're away. Who can we take? Who's available? Who's not? And that's where those players are going to be filling in those gaps. But again, it's just, and then they bring that like environment to the outdoor team. So all these other girls that are coming in from college or coming in from, wherever else, we already kind of have this group that's like, this is the standard, this is what we're looking for, and this is how you need to behave amongst us. You have to be grateful, you have to enjoy your time. And all the players that come in like add to that. It's just, and then it becomes this great big like friendship amongst the team. And so I think they set that standard really well, in knowing like we're the ones that are kind of keeping the temperature of the team in good standing. And yeah, so I think that's kind of where that goes from.
Yeah,
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just Dani reminded me of something when she was kind of going down the list and talking about how they buy in. I want to, somebody who doesn't get talked about nearly enough is Amanda Britt. And there were two times that I remember clearly from last year where we had named the 18, she wasn't in it. And then the day of, we had somebody get sick or a family emergency. And so we had an opportunity to bring in an 18th. And both times, like, I just looked at Dani and Nate and we were like, Amanda, it's just like, she's the one that you want on the 18, whether she fits it in a given game or not. And both times I called her, she answered, and she was to the field within 45 minutes. And I think, you look at it at the professional level, and there are situations where some of these mega stars are like, they're like too good for things, like, don't put me in for the last 2 minutes, coach. That's like embarrassing or whatever. And Amanda's just got so much humility and she's got so much loyalty, that she embraces those situations. And I remember one of those two instances was actually our playoff game against Riverlight. We found out very last minute that a player had to drop, and their coach was cool with it. We were actually like too far in we were too close to the game to make a change, but the other coach gave his blessing. We called Amanda. She got in, like, she like got to the stadium 20 minutes after kickoff. And that game obviously went really well, and we were able to get everybody on at the end. I remember like saying to the team, my favorite thing about this game is that Amanda Britton ended up on the field, because it was such a great, like, it was emblematic of what made us so strong last year, was that a player in her situation who had been left out, had the humility to come in and show up and then contribute to our success on the field. It was just like really, I thought, like, wonderfully symbolic. And she's not the only one, but I think she's just like probably one of the finer examples I can think of someone who is always putting the team before herself. And when those younger college players come in and see that, across the group of veterans. I think it's contagious.
Well, the high school
Everybody
players.
realizes. Yeah, the high school player. Like, what a wonderful role model to have there.
Yeah, my next question was going to involve the new kids, and when you try to think about things you want for your children at that stage in their development, like the ability to interact with like healthy, emotionally, uncrippled adults, doing something like intense and getting real feedback from them and learning to take it, and like the whole spiral of like self-awareness and self-actualization that comes out of running into like some a more advanced peer, like it says, that's what you're describing. So anyway, here's the youngins, as I put in my notes. I just don't know about. I'm curious. Sophia Enright. In my day, it looks like she's very quick.
Yeah,
she's a sprinter.
She's a sprinter. She's like an all-state sprinter.
Yeah.
She's teammates. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. I cut you off. Okay.
I got nothing. I was just like, okay. So she's an all-state sprinter. Where's she from?
She's at Seaholm, but she doesn't play high school soccer. But she runs for the track team, and she's like within milliseconds of setting their school record in like the 100. She is club teammates with Aubrey Champa, center back. She's going to Utah Valley with Faith Weber for a year. Well, they'll have a year of overlap.
Awesome.
We had a really competitive scrimmage with the Jags last night, and she got really good minutes at center back, and I think she's a good option. What's that?
She stopped the goal from going in on the end line.
Yeah, she's really, she's been a pleasant surprise.
So a lightning quick center back.
Lightning quick, but also like really clean on the ball. Anytime we've done like little technical stuff in the beginning of a training session, she's like she's high up.
We're about to see some Hansi Flick stuff from you guys, right? Just going to play the craziest high line ever because you got the quickest girl in the world playing center back.
Quickest girl.
Well, I don't want to get away from our theme of the youngins.
The youngins. Kanamora and Donna.
Yes.
I don't know anything. She looks like a ball winner from the video I saw. I'm about to go into scouting ease, like 2-footed, good balance, like head up, whatever. What's her story?
She's great. We did that Christmas tournament, and we were running low on players, and I texted Jake Gold, Lily's dad, and I was like, hey, can you recommend anyone from Lily's team who might want to play in this, because we're looking like a little thin in the back? And he said, I'll ask Kanamora. He just used her first name. And I was like, I kind of pretended I knew who he was talking about. I was like, oh yeah, she sounds great. And then I like looked it up, and she's got such a unique first name that her like Google revealed like she's committed to University of Florida already. She's Lily's age and age group. She might be a junior, whereas Lily's a sophomore. But bottom line, she's already committed
to an SEC school.
Yeah. And she came and played in that tournament and like did not look out of place at all. I'll let Dani elaborate.
I thought she was super composed in the ball, which is great to see, especially like in the back line, because we obviously try and build up out of the back line. But she was super composed. I thought her positioning, she did a great job with it. So we're excited to see what she can bring to the table.
Yeah, and like Lily and Ava Lanstra, I don't think we'll get her all the time. Her availability will be mixed based on her nationals commitments, but she chose us, which is really cool. And I think immediately kind of fit in. Just like it's obvious we could throw her in pretty much any backline position, and she won't struggle. And she's athletic enough. I think Lily's dad was saying like she's got this funny quality where she's like always fast enough. You think like, oh, she's about to get beat to a ball, and then she just takes like a go-go gadget step, and all of a sudden she's where she needs to be.
Fantastic. I noticed Natalie Grimaldo, the latest in the Grimaldo family, is on the roster. She's pretty young, right? Like 15.
Sophomore.
She's Lily's age, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is she another like soft-footed midfielder, or what's her profile?
Yeah, I'll let Dani talk about her because Dani knows her best. But I need to start getting a little bit more educated on like the women's game globally because I'd love to make a comparison to a female professional.
Right.
But she reminds me of Iniesta.
Oh,
My goodness.
Metsala. Okay.
Yeah, so I'll let Dani take it from there. But that's what I'll say about Natalie. She's got a little Iniesta in her.
I mean, we're lucky that the Grimaldos are within our organization just to begin with, because they're amazing girls too. Like just the nicest, very like when Naomi was with us, and she's now in Mexico right now playing. But when Naomi was with us after games or before games, she was always asking questions, which you love to see. But it wasn't like annoying asking questions. It was like, I genuinely need to know what I'm doing to make this more successful type things. And it was like truly like, I want to be a better soccer player. I don't like, not that she obviously cares about the team and things like that, but she was genuinely looking for a reason to become better. And so I kind of see that in all of them, that kind of aspect. And obviously all of their foot skills are unbelievable. Their first touches, their ability to take players on 1v1. I remember the first time I actually found out about these girls, I was playing in an indoor women's league in Melvindale, and had to play against Naomi and Nicole in a game. And I remember Nicole was, I for some reason I was in the center back, and Nicole had the ball, and I took it from her, and I literally was like, I've done it. I'm good. I've been successful today. I'm going to leave because I took the ball from Nicole and she didn't score on me. She then went on and scored like 3 more goals, but it was fine. I was just really happy that I took the ball from her that one time.
You have your moment. You're not going to hog it.
all of those girls though, like that's the kind of fear that they bring to players because they're so good technically. And Natalie is nothing different than her sisters. The exact same, able to bring the ball down very well, can take players on 1v1. And she also, her distribution and ability to read the game is also phenomenal. This is a player that I would not transition to a 6. I would keep her as an attacking player, as an 8 or a 10, or even up top. All of them, the Grimaldos, I felt that way. They bring something special to the field. And so Natalie's no different. So she's, good on the ball, able to read the game well, just like her sisters, and is going to bring something special. So,
and Natalie played in that tournament this Christmas, and I was struck by how composed she was. Like she was sort of unpressable, even against some really athletic, strong teams. Like she never got rattled. It was impressive.
There's another team in town that could use someone unpressable. It's a men's team, unfortunately. So I don't know. Let's look into that. I think I'm kind of out of names.
There was one with the Zoe announcement that came in tonight. Cameron Evans.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cam Evans came to us courtesy of Sam Pirani. She's from Canton. And she's a fairly recent graduate from Michigan State. She played with Dani Steffen, forward in the modern era of Michigan State being a dominant D1 program. She was at the beginning of their current coach, Jeff Hostler. She was kind of at the beginning of his era. And the fact that she played the bulk of the minutes up front under him, to me, was like an immediate suggestion that she was a really high-level player. She's a few years post-grad, so she's kind of taken a break from soccer, but she kind of wanted to get back into it. She's got the competitive juices flowing, and so she's been in for a couple training sessions. I kind of say, like, I mean, she's a completely different player than Addie, but I think she has a lot of overlap in, like, the athleticism and strength category. She plays different. Like Addie started to really develop a back to goal, a comfort and letting the ball off and spinning out. And I think Cam gets it like wide and kind of likes to cut in on her right foot. Like they have different tendencies, but I think she'll be a really great either like counterpart to Addie if they're on the field together, or if you put one in for the other, I think the back line would just be like, oh, come on, like more of this power and dynamism. And I think she'll be really, especially if she gets her like finishing touch back. She's a little rusty by her own admission, but she seems pretty determined to get it back.
And both Cam and Kayla seem like perfect if you wanted to do, and I think you were starting to do it at the end of 24, like where you were putting Kayla with Lily, and you have the tall hold up and the pacey forward to get behind into those loose spaces. And it seems like, the big, the tall small, and Cam could be, like you said, like an inside, like a cut inside player on that. So, like I said, it keeps defenders honest.
Mm-hmm.
And
on the back line.
And when you have that many players and talented players, I think that you do, it can be a nightmare for opposing coaches to plan for. So, which hopefully these words are manifestation for what we are going to be actually starting to see come Saturday in the season.
Right.
Yeah, we're really big into manifesting on this podcast, boy.
Mm-hmm. Timing. So 6 weeks basically from May 17th to June 28th, 10 games in, and obviously the fun, like once May 24th kicks in when you have game 2 of the doubleheader, which also is something cool for, I think, this side this year. All of your matches at Keyworth Stadium are in the 7:00 spot. No afternoon 4 p.m. games like there were a couple times in Saturday last year. But come May 24th, you're doing it often where it's Saturday, Wednesday, or a couple Wednesdays in a row, and you're gonna have, the every 3 days thing. Is this where we're going to see the advantages of having? Do you see it as an advantage because you have so many players to be able to slot in, and you're not overrunning anyone during this time, or is there a little concern because you might have to do too much rotation and you lose some of that on-field chemistry because, people being able to play with each other, etc.
Yeah. As Nate Northup likes to say, it's all just going to work out. These things tend to work out. I think a lot of the rotation is almost forced upon us, week to week, weddings, college visits, random conflicts, family vacations. So a lot of the time the pool shrinks quite a bit when we're picking an 18. And this year, just to clarify, we actually get to pick 20 now. 2 won't play. You can only play 18 in a game, but really nice to have that flexibility, and it allows us to bring a slightly more diverse collection of players to pull from during the game itself. But anyway, I think we'll naturally be forced to do some rotation based on availability. And then I think the other side of it will be our desire to say, hey, we want to make sure we keep certain players fresh. A name that hasn't come up that Dani and I are both really excited about is Mira Webster. She's a center back from Western. She can also play right back. 2 years ago, she was the MAC Defensive Player of the Year. She's from the Toronto area. Missed this entire fall season at Western because of a knee injury and a surgery, and so she's now just getting back to playing. We need to manage her load. We're hoping to get a lot out of her, but we also want to do right by her and Western and make sure that she doesn't overdo it. So any week where there's 2 games in a week, we'll have to be really careful, and maybe just not even roster her in one of those 2 games, or use her sparingly in 1 game. And so I think situations like that are not uncommon. And when you add it all up, the rotation just kind of happens naturally. But I do think that we have a lot of versatile players and a lot of players that can plug into multiple positions. We never really got to elaborate on Melinda Hathaway, but the player from Notre Dame, I think she's played center back for the most part there, but she told me over the phone she's been playing a lot of midfield this spring. And so she's an example, if we're a little light at center back this Saturday, assuming she's available, she's a really good option to start there next to Mira. And yet if we want her at the 6 or the 8 or the 10 or whatever, I think she could probably do a really good job there as well. So hopefully, we can get some continuity game to game so that players are used to playing with each other, but I'm sure there'll be a good amount of cycling in because it happens so fast. And there's, like you said, 10 games in 6 weeks. You're going to have to you're going to have to pull from more than 20 players.
Every matchup is big, especially in this division. Division winners automatically get through. I think obviously with the great fourth division now and the amount of new W League sides, I'm still guessing there's, I don't know if it was because last year it was top 2 best second place teams or 1 second place team, I believe. It was 3 division winners and the second place points are at a premium. That being said, is there a matchup, a matchup or an away trip in particular when you're looking at this schedule and you're seeing the teams that you're playing that you're like circling and putting the star on the calendar? Like Dave, like when we've talked afterwards, like when we went after the win versus Midwest, that like giant like sigh, let relief, maybe the biggest, like most emotional I've seen you in that moment because of how hard, that was like a big milestone. And then to beat Midwest in Midwest to clinch the division. So are those are those Midwest Kalamazoo's? Is there anyone in particular of those games you're like, these are the ones like we got to win every one if we can, but we really got to get something.
This is your opportunity to provide bulletin board material if you'd like to make that happen
For the opponent.
Yeah,
We're not.
what we're looking forward to is Union Macomb because those motherfuckers, fuck them.
Sean already did the campaign pitch for Lily with the Union.
Yeah, we tried not to provide too much fodder for the other team. I'm curious what Danny.
That's us.
I'm curious because honestly, when you were saying it, when you were asking the question, every team rolled through my mind. I think I don't know that anyone stands out because each one has its own reason to be a key matchup. Let Danny answer this one.
I honestly think that Midwest has always been something that, what was it? What's the word I'm looking for? A curse.
Yeah, the curse got broken last year.
It got broken.
Yeah.
So Midwest it's against Midwest, right? It was against Midwest.
We had never beaten them until the home game last year.
Yeah. And that for some reason, whenever we play Midwest, it's like, I don't know if we're in our heads or what it is, but it's always the game that we are always like, we have to win this game. And I just think though, the Midwest away game, we just went out there and was like, all right, we got to do our thing. We just got to go out there and play our game. And it'll come and time will tell and things like that. But, as the season progresses, we start honing in on where we do need to make wins. Like we have to win this game. We have to, and it takes, a couple games into the season for us to kind of identify when that turning point is. And when we really need to, come away with a result. But I would have to say Midwest has always just kind of been this thing. Even against Flint City, Flint City, everybody knows Flint City always had a strong roster and they're the ones to beat. But it was just for us, we're okay, we'll play Flint City, but we really have to beat Midwest for some reason. It was just always in our heads about it.
Yeah. And I think especially too, it's Midwest, when I look at the makeup of this team of the division last year, Kalamazoo, as the season wore on, became that second team. And even in the second game against Midwest and Kalamazoo, they outplayed Midwest consistently. But still, it's certain teams match up better with other teams. And Midwest always seemed to, dare I say, they were Erie for what Erie used to be in the men. Yeah. Or some might say Cleveland, but I would say
a bogey side.
Yeah. To get that out of the way, maybe set the tone for, and beating Indy. I think
that was pretty sweet. No, Danny reminded me of something that I kind of forgotten. When I look back on last season, as big as some of those games were, I don't think any one game, at least in our preparation or in the vibe before, I don't think any one game really stood out a lot. And I remember when we first beat Midwest, it was a huge feeling afterward. But I remember before the game, all we were saying was man, we really we were personnel wise, that was a really tricky game to select for. We had a lot of key players who weren't available, players who had played big minutes for us.
Yeah, so, Cleveland a few days prior, if I remember right.
Yep. Yeah, we were coming off, it was a 2-game week, and I remember we just had a lot of players that we were kind of giving an opportunity to, and we didn't know how it was going to work, and we almost thought to ourselves, well, let's just do our best here, like make it competitive. So even that game, I don't think we came into it like this is the game we're going to break the curse. Like no one game really stood out, and I think in retrospect that was probably really helpful because we didn't overthink any games, and I hope we can.
I remember we came back from Cleveland, and our Cleveland game wasn't the hottest game we played. Like it wasn't our best experience, our best showing. And so then having to come back and play at home against Midwest, we were kind of like, okay, well, let's forget about that game and let's hope I don't even think we were thinking too much about the actual game itself. I think we were just like, all right, let's piece this together and make it as best as we can. So
yeah.
I'm going to propose a theory of the case why the team is able to stay so focused and kind of humble, and I think it's because you guys model that, and the way they, that ability to look rationally at what's in front of you, and still say, okay, well, obviously, we're going to do our best, and not to like linger over it emotionally or get caught up in your own spokes, just to like go out there and go, all right, let's fucking go. Like, let's let it rip. And I mean, you could see that team was just brimming with confidence. And it was, long may it continue. Like, it's so great, you guys. I'm sure that I am among thousands of people who are very excited about what we're about to see.
Thanks.
I got one more question before I do that. Adam, did you have anything that come in there?
I'm actually working on the graphic for the episode, and I'm contemplating right now putting a picture of David when he was playing, I'm assuming that first year, because I found a picture with the LaRouge supporters on the front. And then I'm contemplating also using a picture of Dani when she played for the Detroit Sun. So, because I found a picture of that, that as well.
I have failed a bit because I think we need to point out what exquisite ballers Dave and Dani are.
Yeah.
Like really, really, like. Folks, this is one of those. I'm an old man yelling at a cloud here, but these people can play that game there. They're not just talking about it.
We've witnessed some fun shit over the years, to say the least.
The first time I was made aware in person of the brilliance of Dani Evans as a soccer player was actually we had when the Fieldhouse opened, there was a Friday night league called the Super League. There have been some great games played in that league.
Baby.
And
I've heard stories. I've heard stories.
Yeah.
I forgot about this.
Sorry, I have PTSD. I've got to go.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because I would show up Saturday morning for Palace to see what affects.
My bad. But Javi Batista organized a team to play in that league, and me and John Evans were on the same team, and it was a blast. We had a really good time, and it was a competitive league. And there was one Friday night where I'm trying to remember if the other team didn't show up. Whatever it was.
No, you guys didn't have enough players.
Didn't have enough. So Dani played with us. And like I had heard about Dani and I knew her, but I'd never like seen her play and I'd never played with her. And I just remember, I don't remember like who I first told this to, but I've always told this to people since. I found myself just like whenever I got the ball, no matter where I was, she was my first look. I was just like, give it to Dani. Like you like feed the monster, give it to the best player on the field. Like you learn that when you play a sport, that's a good strategy. And John Evans was on the field that night, so I felt bad like kind of telling that story in front of him, but it was just like, man, give it to Dani.
I have no problem with that.
I gave it to John a few times too, but I found myself instinctively seeking out Dani.
Were those pity dishes? You can tell us. We won't tell anybody. Was it just pity that led you to feeding John?
Yeah. I wanted him to feel a little bit.
Like, hey, you're in here, bud. Yeah, you're doing it too.
Yeah.
I just remember I was really tired because obviously, like it was indoor, so it was boarded, and they play a little bit faster than what I was used to. And I just remember after the game, I was just like, wow, I'm not going to do that ever again. That was fun, but no, never again. Because I was so tired. And I think that was after I was pretty much done playing at that point in time. I don't think I had Liam yet, but no, yeah, it was before that. But I remember I was like, I'm tired. Okay, that was fun.
This is real
Yeah.
fatigue.
This
Yeah.
is
I'll testify to the greatness that is Dani. So yeah, the sun picture would be great, Adam. And I bet when you look at the two pictures, you'll realize like one person was like a proper.
yeah, right.
There's actually, I'll ask a question as like a message that you want to give to everyone checking this out, whether it's supporters at Keyworth and that. But I'm thinking, because we're talking about, Sean, you were talking about proclamations and that. David, I've talked about this with you before when we were on in September. One of my favorite moments, and Adam made a graphic for this a couple days after the national semifinal. A handshake line, Eliza Barron, we were talking about how the progression of this squad from 2022 and that indie game, and how thin that squad was, and of people that were there then to see what this side became, and in that moment, and the line that I believe she says, she stops for a second, and the handshake line, she goes, "You know what? We're not going to have this feeling next year."
Yeah, I remember that.
And then I think Dani gave me the tease about be ready for some indoor announcement and stuff.
We were already on to the arena.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe you can tie.
There's no off season anymore. It's like we're done.
On to the next.
Let's go.
Next?
Yeah. So maybe you can tie this into your message to supporters as they're getting ready for 5 regular season. We expect to do more, obviously, with the talent of this team in here. What to expect, but that proclamation message, national semifinal last year. Next step this year.
Well, I kind of tend to go the other way, and I want to acknowledge ahead of time how tough it is. I mean, the W League is fantastic. We talked about Union Macomb earlier, but I think you could make a case that Kalamazoo is ripe to have their year. Midwest is always strong. We don't know a lot about Toledo, but Ohio's a hotbed. You're going to have good players there. And then Ann Arbor beat Union Macomb in the first game of the season. I don't think it was Union Macomb's top group, but bottom line, like every game's going to be tricky, and I don't ever want to take anything for granted. So I'm going to focus on, for me, like the one thing that I think we owe to the players as a coaching staff is just like a positive and confidence building experience. And I kind of want to try and stick to that. And if we get that part right, I think the on-field success will hopefully follow. And I told Sean in a text exchange that we had earlier, like, I don't care that Union is so stacked. I'm going to focus on the fact that I think we have a lot of goodness in our squad, like good people who are good to each other, who are going to play the game in the right way and play with an ethic, a work ethic, and an amount of virtue that will hopefully be really fun to watch and something that our supporters can identify with. And so I'd encourage everyone not to fall into the trap of only feeling good if we win, because that stuff's fickle, and there were a lot of games last year that could have easily gone the other way, and I still thought we played well and deserved something. So, I'll try and keep us on earth here and not hope for anything other than some virtuous football from some great people. But if we end up, getting to that place again that we got last year, that would be pretty sweet.
Yeah, Dave, I love you, man.
Thanks.
Virtuous football. I'm looking forward to it too. We've just heard from the Paladin of Detroit City, David Dwaihy.
And I got to enjoy it. And one thing I know, the full circle moment, like you with Union plays at Swinehart, correct? In Utica, I believe, is what they're doing it. I believe I'm from the club's website. I think it's full fit. I'm a Utica High School graduate, so that's Swinehart's there. So I think it's kind of real fitting that 20.
So you'll be cheering for them? Man,
hell no! I'm just saying. I think it'll be funny 20 years later. 20 years about aging, all that showing. is to be nearby 50 feet or whatever from where you guys are at on coaching on stuff at there for this club to cover this club and continue what we hope will be a fantastic season for the players, just for as far as the experience, and also, whatever we can get on there, I think is cool, full circle moment. And I think the cherish it all, I think, is the fun message.
For sure. Yeah. And we try and harp on that with the women too. Like it's a neat thing when you're about to have a game and you realize like so much goes into it, especially at City. When we have a home game, there's like, I felt this way during those few years where I was fortunate enough to play. So many hands go into just like making a game day possible that once the whistle blows, it would be a shame not to enjoy it. And I actually always tell people, like, as a player, I think I had probably had my best days before I played for City because I was a little bit older. But I also think I played the best for my potential when I was at City because I played, Dani used this expression earlier, like I played with a lot of gratitude back in 2012 and 2013 because by the time I was on the field, I was acutely aware of all the hard work that had gone into just making the game happen. And I think Dani and all of her hard work on the youth side and all of her investment in the club, and a lot of people on our staff and in the player pool feel that way too, where like when the whistle blows, you just got to enjoy it and obviously work your butt off and do all the things that the talented soccer players need to do. But I think we all get a lot of mileage out of the gratitude that we're playing with because it is a pretty special place. When you're playing at home, it's a special place to play and some very special supporters to play in front of and a special club to represent.
Dani, what about you?
I mean, I agree. Basically, everything he just said. I think it's super special. I think moving forward in the season, we're going to see some really fantastic things from our players. I think they're going to bring it all. Everything they always have in the past. I don't see that changing this year. And they're just going to continue playing, with that, like I said, gratitude and the kind of the freedom to, that we've talked about, to be able to kind of express themselves on the field the way that they want to. And so I'm excited to see what they can offer. I'm excited about this roster. I think, the behind the scenes work is huge. I say it too, even on the indoor side of things, like the amount of work that is put into those indoor games it's a lot of work. And I have friends that, work in the office. They're part of the office staff. And, when I talk to them, I just am so thankful for them and all the things that they do to make the game day successful. And, that transitions to the outdoor season as well. There's just so many things that happen that happen to make it successful and make it so much fun and an atmosphere where all the girls are enjoying themselves. So, I think I'm excited to see what the girls will broadcast this coming up season.
Sean, did you have anything else that you wanted? Sean?
Did we lose Sean?
Yeah, my mic was off. I was coughing. I think this is a good note to end, except for my idiocy, which just happened. Like we want to do it again. Let's have another take. Dave, tell me about the? I'm sorry.
I was gonna say.
I'm just excited to see. I'm excited to see this team play.
Times you can see this team play. Home matchups this season will be Saturday, May 24th, Wednesday, May 28th, Saturday, May 31st, Saturday, June 7th, and Saturday, June 21st, all at Keyworth Stadium, 7 p.m. kickoffs, and road matchups that are very, very doable. Travel distance on there. The furthest, anything in the Metro Detroit area within an hour, even Toledo, the furthest one is Midwest, which is 2.5 hours away.
Okay. The farthest way you're going to go is Grand Rapids. It's not a hard travel.
Yeah.
Not like the season.
Yeah, boy, wow, we're fortunate. Yeah. Speaking of gratitude.
So it all starts this coming Saturday, May 17th, 7 p.m., Holloway Field at Pioneer High School, where almost a year ago, 10, 11 months ago, a bunch of people showed up wearing Burger King crowns to commemorate the then Queens of the Great Lakes. May it be the beginning of a future coronation for a talented group of players and coaches staff that make up this Detroit City FC W League side. David, Dani, as always, thank you so much for joining us on here. I know this is not going to be the last time we'll be chatting with the both of you this season and continuous on there.
Don't threaten them, man.
May it be a joyous time.
Thank you guys so much for having us. We're very grateful.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, guys.
Our pleasure.
So
the crowd are going wild.
So next time we'll be talking after about the season opener that's taking place this Saturday. Thanks for everybody for checking this out, and yeah, we go onward up the fucking city.